Alright guys, so today's video was supposed to be my review on the Pixel 4 XL. And don't worry, it still technically is, even though it's not like a full-on review. I wanted to give my opinion as just an everyday user. But because of the tech community, whether it be creators or just people that follow creators in the comments and all the stuff that they've made because of the new Pixel and the new iPhone and this new device, it's been really embarrassing to see all this stuff. I mean, it's kind of sad that people go to the lengths that they do to attack others who just enjoy a product or a brand. It's kind of like we were when we were in school. Like you're a kid in school and somebody else in the school got this new thing. We don't even know what it is. We don't know what it does, but we want it. We probably will never use it, but because that person has it, we now want it. And that's kind of the mentality of the tech world right now. I think the vibes when it comes to phones has become very toxic. And it's just really at this point embarrassing. This is not a war. You don't defend one side over the other. It doesn't matter if somebody else enjoys a brand or a product that you don't. And it really doesn't make sense for you to just go ahead and say that something is trash or it's garbage if you've never even put your hands on it. Yes, you could have your opinion on things, but also understand that specs does not equal experience. And that's kind of the whole message of this thing. Now, I am not by any means saying this is a perfect device. I'm not saying it's the perfect phone. I do have some issues with it. I do have some things that I don't understand why they took away or why they didn't add this or whatever. So that's what I want to discuss in this video. But let's go ahead and check out some of the specs and what comes inside the box. Now, inside the box, the first thing you'll kind of notice that they left out are the earbuds. Now, they do not have a headphone jack, so you are reliant on having to use the dongle or just having to use a Bluetooth headphone or earbuds or something like that. But to not include anything, I think it's kind of a miss. But they do include the fast charger inside the box, which is a huge plus considering the phone has fast charging capabilities. Now, as far as battery life goes, I can't speak on the Pixel 4, but the Pixel 4 XL has a 3700 milliamp battery, which I can say I've had no issues getting through a full day's worth of use. Now, I am not a heavy phone user, so that'll just kind of depend on what you're using, what you have open. You're not gonna be able to speak on getting this amount of hours of battery life. Everybody's usage is gonna be different. The battery life for me is basically a non-issue. The phone itself, I think, is a great looking device. I do like the colors that they offer. They have the white model, the orange. I'm very confused though on why the black model is glossy when the white and the orange model have a matte finish to it. I think the matte finish is great. This white model that I have here has not shown any fingerprints at all. So I really do like the design and the build quality of this. Now, one of the things that I really don't like that they left off, and it's kind of always been their thing, it was part of their look, was the fingerprint scanner on the back. Although I do understand that most devices and most tech is going to face unlock, which is all well and good, there's just certain situations where face unlock doesn't work. It doesn't work in certain situations, not because your face isn't unlocking it, but sometimes it's easier to kind of hold it off to the side and unlock it. If you're doing something else, you don't want to have to hold your phone almost right here in your face every time. So I've always liked the ability to just kind of grab my phone. My finger always immediately went back to this one spot and my phone was always unlocked. And also the ability to scroll on the back where the fingerprint scanner was, it would scroll through your notifications. It was just a feature I always appreciated. So I'm really disappointed that they left the fingerprint scanner off of this one and just resorted to just face unlock, but that's more personal preference than anything. The face unlock in general works completely fine, although it does unlock your phone if your eyes are closed. I kind of hope that Google changes this in an upcoming update, but as it is right now, with my eyes closed, I can unlock this phone. Now I want to talk about the screen. The screen on this, I think, is absolutely gorgeous. I think the 90 hertz refresh rate is very, very smooth. Scrolling through apps, I know that it will transition somewhere between 60 hertz to 90 hertz, depending on what app you're using, and that kind of conserves battery. But you can go into the phone and just force it to always do 90 hertz. So the option is to do either one, depending on what you need. So if you notice that you get more than enough battery life, you can just force this thing to 90 Hertz and you're good to go. Now, the other big feature that they pushed this year and they promoted was the sensor, the ability to be able to swipe, the ability, like if your alarm's going off, if you go to reach for the phone, it kind of silences the alarm a little bit, and you can swipe if you want it to snooze or swipe it to just turn it off. In general, for the most part, people are gonna see it as a gimmick. And for the most part, I agree with that. I don't know how useful it is for everyone, especially considering the amount of time and the amount of money that they put into that technology. It is definitely way more ahead than the phones that have done it previously. I have noticed that there are some times where it's not registering that I'm doing that. But at the same time, like if you're in the kitchen or if you're doing something where your hands are soaking wet, or you just have something that you don't want to touch your phone because it's on your hand, it is very nice to be able to switch a song just by swiping in front of your screen, because you're not damaging your phone and you're able to just continue doing what you're doing, and you're not having to stop what you're doing because you want to do something on your phone. So although I think the technology is pretty impressive, I don't really know how useful it will be to most people. For me in general, I think it's cool, but I just don't use it that often. A lot of people are complaining that Google only put 6 gigs of RAM in this phone. And so a lot has been said about Google using the Snapdragon 855 processor, which obviously is not the latest and greatest. I think a lot of people either are oblivious or unaware that the phone that most of the time they are comparing this to is the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 11 Pro or Pro Max. All of those only have 4 gigs of RAM. Again, I know that Apple's ecosystem and their internals are kind of built to kind of optimize and get the most out of that 4 gigs, and pretty much you never notice that that's what's powering this. And that's the same experience I got out of the Pixel. Even though people complain by looking at a box that it only has 6 gigs of RAM, this phone is very snappy. I've had no stutter lag issues. I've never had any force closed apps. It just works. And that's kind of always been the mentality of Apple products. And I personally get the same thing out of Google products. Which my point behind that is, if you're a normal average consumer, you do not care about a lot of the stuff that tech reviewers are not telling you about, because tech reviewers are cramming specs down your throat to make it seem like that's the end all be all. And that's not the case. If a phone just works, and a phone works smoothly, and the camera works great, and you're getting all of the things that you need in everyday use, it makes it a great phone. Now, I will say, as far as the internals, when it comes to storage size, that's been a concern for people, or at least something that people bring up, because I definitely understand the complaints when it comes to Google getting rid of their unlimited storage when it comes to high-res photos, because they used to promote take as many photos as you want, the high res will just save into the cloud for free, we don't charge it, you get, whatever, and then they just don't offer that in this device, and it wasn't an option. So for them to charge the price that they're charging for the new lineup, and again, I can only speak for the Pixel 4 XL, it's $899 if you want the 64 gig model, and then it's $999 if you want the 128 gig model. That's a lot of money for that type of storage. And they're justifying some of the price because of the technology that's put into this phone, so I do understand that as well. It is an expensive phone. I think it is around $100 overpriced, in my opinion. I think the XL should have started at $799, and I think the 128 gig model should be $899. I think it would just have been more competitive with the other brands that are in the market, but I am not dissatisfied with the price of the phone. I think just to be competitive, it needed to be priced $100 cheaper. So let's talk about the cameras, because that's where a lot of people are making a big fuss as well. They're saying, well, Google only has 2 cameras. Well, the iPhone has 3 cameras. Or this, nobody's making a big deal about the fact that the Nokia 9, when it came out, had 5 cameras. Well, why aren't they saying that, well, this phone doesn't have 5 cameras? There's always going to be this direct comparison between Google and Apple. So I do want to point this out. A lot of people are saying, well, I really would have much preferred the wide angle lens. The wide angle lens is much more important. Who cares about the telephoto lens? Because you have your normal lens and then you have your telephoto lens. So a lot of people think that they're missing out because they don't have the wide angle lens. It just always comes down to what one has and the other one doesn't, which I think is ridiculous. So from a user experience, the camera is still fantastic. In fact, I still think it's, if not the best, one of the best cameras that you can buy when it comes to smartphones. I think the new iPhone lineup has incredible cameras as well. but they both have completely different characteristics. Especially with their portraits, they worked a lot on getting the edge detection to be better, where it's not trying to pick up weird things or blur out things that it shouldn't. Obviously, it's still going to do it, but the technology is getting much, much better. I also want to talk about the astrophotography. I thought at first this could be a gimmicky type thing, and obviously this may be something that you don't use often. It's not very easy at times, especially if you do not have a tripod, because there are some shots that it will ask you to be still somewhere between 2 to 5 minutes. So this is definitely a mode that you want to be able to have on a tripod so you can hit the button and walk away. It's capturing in all of this light, and I believe that the outcome of the shots is absolutely incredible. The video, you know, I don't use video, so that's not necessarily a big deal. They didn't do anything to improve there, so I do understand people's complaints on that one. From a non-super diehard phone user, I think the Pixel is an excellent phone. I think the Pixel 4 XL, I've had fun using it. I miss some features. I miss the fingerprint scanner. I don't want to sound old, but I still miss the headphone jack, and I think that's mainly because I just use all types of headphones, and I don't like to keep a dongle around just to be able to use those type of headphones. So I miss that they had those type of things, and I do understand the complaints with pulling the unlimited storage, because that was one of the big selling points with having a Pixel. Now, as far as Pixel's cases, I've always liked the look of the fabric cases. I just don't think it's very useful when it comes to protection. Obviously, it'll cover the back when it comes to scratches, but at the same time, it's covering a gorgeous phone. It's covering the fact that you picked this color phone. You can't tell that that's what it is when you have it in a case. These are cell phones, people. No matter what device you have, no matter what device somebody else has, there's always going to be another device that does something yours doesn't. It doesn't make theirs better, it doesn't make yours better, it doesn't make it worse, none of that. You enjoy what you have. If you like something and you feel the need that somebody else might like something, then tell them about it. But if somebody else likes a product, there's no reason for you to tell them why they shouldn't, or why it's trash, or why it's garbage, especially considering you probably never used the device in the first place. So guys, I know this is a different type of video. I think the tech community, whether you be just a viewer, a subscriber, a creator, or whatever, everybody needs to just calm down. Realize that these devices, they don't make you. They don't make the other person. This logo on the back doesn't represent you. It doesn't make you part of a group. It just means you chose to buy this device, or you just chose to use this device. It doesn't put you on a different status level than anybody else. It is simply a phone with a great camera that does a lot of great things that's just improving year by year. That's what these companies are doing. That's what this device did. I'm happy with the Pixel 4 XL. I still think to be competitive, they probably wanted to drop it down $100, but that's just comparing it with another model. I mean, you really don't have to do that. If you look at the device as itself, you're getting a device that is replacing most people's laptops, most people's computers, you know, checking emails and doing a lot of things that we would do on these other devices. Most consumers and most people can get away with doing on their phone. But guys, thank you for checking out this video / review of the Pixel 4 XL. Obviously, this isn't an in-depth review, you know, hitting on all the specs and all that stuff. It's just from an overall user experience. I'm enjoying this phone. I've had no issues. But guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.